My wife was on a long business trip overseas. She called every night saying, "I miss you and the kids so much, it's killing me." So, we surprised her. But when we got to her hotel, we saw her by the pool. With another man. Our 7-year-old whispered, "That's not Daddy." She still doesn't know we were ever there. But she's about to find out, in the worst way. My wife, let's call her Elise, and I met in graduate school. She was brilliant, ambitious, and passionate about her career in pharmaceutical research. I fell for her hard and fast. We got married after dating for 2 years, and soon after had our 2 children, Emma, now 7, and Lucas, now 5. I'm a software engineer who transitioned to remote work 5 years ago to be more present for our kids. Elise continued climbing the corporate ladder at a major pharmaceutical company. Her job occasionally required travel, but never for more than a week at a time. She was a devoted mother when home, and I thought we had a strong partnership. That was until 3 months ago. Elise came home one evening visibly excited. Her company needed someone to oversee the setup of a new research partnership with a lab in Barcelona, Spain. It would require a 6-week stay. "It's a huge opportunity," she explained. "Leading this project could fast-track me for the director position." I was supportive, of course. We worked out childcare arrangements, and I adjusted my work hours to be more available for the kids. It would be challenging, but we'd make it work. "I'm going to miss you and the kids terribly," she said as I drove her to the airport. "But I'll call every night." And she did call every night, like clockwork. The kids would crowd around my phone, eager to see Mommy's face and hear about Spain. Every call ended the same way. "I miss you and the kids so much, it's killing me." Sometimes she'd have tears in her eyes when saying it. She'd blow kisses to the children and make heart shapes with her hands. They ate it up, especially Emma, who started counting down the days until Mommy would come home. 3 weeks into her trip, something changed. The calls continued, but they became shorter. Elise seemed distracted, often taking calls from her hotel balcony because the room was too noisy from housekeeping or she needed better reception. When I asked about her work, her answers became vague. "It's complicated, and I'm exhausted from explaining technical details all day," she'd say. My suspicions grew when she began declining video calls with flimsy excuses. The lighting was bad. Her hair was a mess. She had a migraine and couldn't handle the screen brightness. It was Emma who inadvertently planted the seed for what happened next. During bedtime, she asked, "Daddy, can we surprise Mommy in Spain? Like in the movies?" The idea took root. Elise still had 3 weeks left on her trip. The kids had a scheduled school break coming up. I had accumulated vacation time. And most importantly, I needed to know the truth. I didn't tell anyone except my parents, who agreed to watch our dog. I booked flights and a hotel room near where Elise was staying. I told myself it was an adventure for the kids, a chance to see Barcelona. But deep down, I knew what I was really doing. We arrived in Barcelona on a sunny Wednesday morning. The plan was to rest, explore the city a bit, then surprise Elise at her hotel the next day. "Is Mommy going to be so excited?" Emma kept asking. "The most excited ever," I assured her, feeling a knot in my stomach. That afternoon, I decided to do some reconnaissance. I left the kids with a hotel babysitter service for an hour, promising to bring back ice cream. Then I took a taxi to Elise's hotel, a luxurious beachfront property the company had arranged for the extended stay. I didn't plan to approach her yet, I just wanted to confirm she was actually staying there and get a sense of the layout for our surprise the next day. I asked the taxi to wait while I walked through the lobby, pretending to be meeting someone. That's when I saw her. Through the large windows overlooking the pool area, I spotted Elise immediately. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a loose bun, sunglasses perched on her head. She was wearing a red swimsuit I'd never seen before, sitting at the poolside bar. She wasn't alone. A tall, tan man with dark hair sat beside her. As I watched, frozen in place, he caressed her arms. Not a friendly caress, but the kind of touch that told me everything I needed to know. Elise threw her head back laughing, her hand resting on his chest. I felt physically ill. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. A hotel employee asked if I needed assistance, and somehow I managed to shake my head and walk back to the waiting taxi. I spent the night in a daze, mechanically going through the motions of dinner and bedtime stories with the kids. My mind was racing, replaying 9 years of marriage, searching for signs I'd missed. The next morning, Emma woke up bursting with excitement about surprising her mother. I couldn't bring myself to cancel our plans, not yet. Part of me needed to see Elise's reaction when confronted with her deception. And another part, the part I'm not proud of, wanted her to see the hurt in our children's eyes. We arrived at Elise's hotel around 11 a.m. The concierge smiled at the children's obvious excitement. "We're surprising my wife, room 718, I explained. "Oh, Mrs. Reynolds? I believe she's by the pool area. Would you like me to call her room first?" "No," I said quickly. "The surprise is the whole point." The concierge directed us through the lobby toward the pool. Emma skipped ahead, pulling Lucas by the hand. I followed a few steps behind, my heart pounding in my chest. And there she was again, but not at the bar this time. Elise was lounging on a pool chair, her red swimsuit drawing eyes from around the pool. And on the chair beside her was the same man from yesterday, now with his arm draped casually over her shoulders. As we approached, I saw the moment when Emma spotted her mother. Her little face lit up, and she broke into a run. "Mommy!" she screamed with pure joy. What happened next is burned into my memory forever. Elise's head snapped up at the sound of Emma's voice. Her sunglasses fell from her head into her lap. The color drained from her face as she saw our daughter running toward her, followed by Lucas and me. The man beside her looked confused, his arms still around her shoulders. Elise jumped up as if the chair had electrocuted her, nearly knocking over a drink in the process. "Emma? Lucas?" Her voice was barely audible. Then her eyes met mine. "What are you doing here?" Before I could answer, Emma had reached her, throwing her arms around her mother's waist. Lucas followed, hugging her legs. "We surprised you, Mommy," Emma exclaimed. "Just like you were sad and missing us." I watched as Elise awkwardly patted the children's heads, her eyes darting between them, me, and the man who was now standing beside her, looking increasingly uncomfortable. That's when Emma turned to look at him, her small brow furrowed in confusion. She tugged on Elise's hand and stage whispered loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "That's not Daddy." The pool area, already quiet from the disruption, seemed to go completely silent. Elise's face contorted into an expression I'd never seen before, panic, shame, and anger all mixed together. "Kids, this is a colleague, Dr. Martin," she managed to say. "He's part of the research team I'm working with." Dr. Martin extended his hand to me, but I ignored it. Instead, I knelt down to Emma and Lucas's level. "Kids, why don't you go over to that nice lady at the towel station and ask for 2 towels? I need to talk to Mommy for a minute." After they reluctantly walked away, I turned to Elise, keeping my voice low but firm. "We're leaving. The kids and I are going back to our hotel, and then we're flying home tomorrow. You have that long to decide what you're going to tell them about why you're staying in Spain." "Ian, please," she began, tears forming in her eyes. "This isn't." "Don't," I cut her off. "Just don't. Not here." Dr. Martin muttered something in Spanish and stepped away, clearly wanting no part of the family drama unfolding. Elise grabbed my arm. "You can't just take the kids and leave. We need to talk about this." "No," I said, pulling away from her grasp. "What we needed was for you not to lie to your family. What we needed was for you not to cheat on your husband while telling your children how much you miss them every night." Her face hardened. "You had no right to come here without telling me." I laughed, a hollow sound that surprised even me. "That's rich, coming from you. The kids and I will be at Hotel Catalunya until tomorrow evening. Ball's in your court." I collected Emma and Lucas, who were confused and upset by the tension they'd witnessed. As we walked away, I heard Emma ask, "Why is Mommy crying? Isn't she happy to see us?" That question broke something inside me. Elise came to our hotel that evening, alone. She asked to speak with me privately first, so I arranged for the kids to have dinner with a babysitter in the hotel restaurant. In our room, she broke down, alternating between apologies and justifications. "It just happened," she claimed through tears. "Martine and I were working late nights, and there was this chemistry." "6 weeks of it just happened?" I interrupted. 6 weeks of lying to me and the children every single night? She admitted the affair had started 2 weeks into her trip. She insisted it wasn't serious, just a connection intensified by the romantic setting and distance from home. "I love you and the kids," she pleaded. "This was a mistake. A terrible mistake I'll regret forever." I asked the question that had been burning inside me since the pool, "Is this the first time?" Her hesitation told me everything. "There was one other time," she finally admitted. "A conference in Chicago last year. It was just one night, and I ended it immediately. 2 affairs that I knew of. How many more were there that I didn't?" We talked for hours. She begged for another chance, promised counseling, transparency, anything I wanted. But watching her cry in that hotel room, all I could see was her laughing by the pool with her lover, while our daughter counted down the days until she came home. After our talk, she spent time with the kids, who were confused but relieved to see their parents speaking civilly. We agreed to tell them that Mommy's work was finished early, but she needed to stay a few more days for meetings. She would be home next week as planned. That night, after Elise left and the kids were asleep, I made a decision. I wasn't going to make a scene. I wasn't going to blow up our lives with a messy, public confrontation. No, I was going to be strategic, calculated, and absolutely ruthless. We returned home the next day. I maintained a facade of normalcy for the kids while secretly contacting a divorce attorney. I gathered financial records, documented Elise's admission of the affairs, and began building my case. The attorney advised me that California's no-fault divorce laws meant the affairs might not significantly impact the financial settlement, but they could potentially influence custody arrangements. More importantly, she pointed out that Elise's high-powered career and frequent travel could work in my favor when arguing for primary physical custody. I didn't share my plans with anyone, not even my closest friends. To the outside world, I was a husband eagerly awaiting his wife's return from a business trip. Elise called every night, speaking to the kids and then to me. Her voice was strained with forced cheerfulness for them and pleading desperation with me. I responded with non-committal phrases. "We'll talk when you're home. Let's focus on the kids right now. I'm still processing everything." Meanwhile, I was executing my plan methodically. First, I contacted a private investigator recommended by my attorney. If there were other affairs, I wanted documentation. Second, I quietly moved half of our savings into a separate account under my name only, perfectly legal before divorce proceedings began, my attorney assured me. Third, I began documenting everything related to the children: school pickups and drop-offs, doctor appointments, extracurricular activities, playdates. I created a spreadsheet showing that I handled approximately 70% of childcare responsibilities, even before Elise's extended trip. Finally, I set up cameras in our home, nothing in private areas like bedrooms or bathrooms, just common spaces. California is a two-party consent state for audio recording, but video without audio in your own home is permitted. I wanted evidence of my parenting and any potential confrontations when Elise returned. As the days passed, I felt a strange calm descend over me. The initial shock and pain were still there, but they were now channeled into purposeful action. Elise returned on a Saturday morning, exactly as scheduled. The kids were ecstatic, rushing to the door when they heard her key in the lock. I stood back, watching the reunion with detached interest. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes partially concealed with makeup. She hugged the children tightly, tears streaming down her face as she told them how much she'd missed them. When she finally looked up at me, I gave her a small, neutral nod. Welcome home. The rest of the day was devoted to the children. Elise brought them gifts from Spain, a flamenco dress for Emma, a FC Barcelona jersey for Lucas. She listened attentively to their stories about what they'd done while she was away, asking questions and laughing at their jokes. To anyone watching, we might have seemed like a normal family reuniting after a long separation. Only the tense glances between Elise and me revealed the truth. That night, after the kids were asleep, we sat at opposite ends of the living room couch. "Thank you," she began, "for not saying anything to the children." "I didn't do it for you," I replied evenly. "I did it for them." She nodded, twisting her wedding ring nervously. "What happens now?" "Now we discuss logistics. I've retained an attorney. I'm filing for divorce and requesting primary physical custody of the children." Her face crumpled. "Ian, please. Can't we at least try counseling? People recover from affairs all the time." "It's not fixable," I said. "And honestly, I don't think you're actually sorry you had the affairs. You're sorry you got caught." She protested vehemently, but I held up a hand to stop her. "Here's what's going to happen. We're going to tell the kids tomorrow that we're separating. We'll say we've grown apart but still care about each other. We'll emphasize that none of this is their fault." "Tomorrow?" she gasped. "That's too soon. They just got me back. Would you prefer they figure it out from the tension between us? Kids aren't stupid, Elise. They already sensed something was wrong in Barcelona." She buried her face in her hands, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. A part of me wanted to comfort her, a reflex from 9 years of marriage. I resisted it. "I've prepared a preliminary separation agreement," I continued. "I'll email it to you tonight. Review it with your attorney if you want, but the terms are fair." In truth, the terms were more than fair, they were generous. I wasn't interested in punishing Elise financially or limiting her time with the children. What I wanted was honesty, stability for the kids, and a clean break. The next few weeks were a blur of painful conversations, paperwork, and adjustments. We told the children together, as planned. Emma cried, Lucas looked confused, and both asked questions we weren't fully prepared to answer. We reassured them as best we could, promising that both parents would always be there for them, even if we weren't living together. Elise moved into a furnished apartment nearby. We established a temporary custody schedule, weekends and Wednesday dinners with her, the rest of the time with me. It worked with her job, which still required occasional travel. On the surface, the separation was proceeding amicably. But underneath, I was still gathering information. The private investigator had confirmed my suspicions. The one night in Chicago had actually been an ongoing affair with a colleague that lasted several months. There were suspicious patterns with at least 2 other men over the past 3 years. Elise, meanwhile, seemed to be in denial about the finality of our separation. She suggested family dinners, proposed weekend outings together for the kids' sake, and continued to bring up counseling. I maintained polite but firm boundaries. 2 months after Elise's return from Barcelona, her company announced their annual gala. It was a prestigious event attended by executives, researchers, and industry partners, a crucial networking opportunity for someone with Elise's career ambitions. She asked if I would attend with her as her date. "It would mean a lot to me," she said during a custody handoff. "And it would look better if we presented a united front." "We're not united," I reminded her. "We're separated and divorcing." "No one at work knows that," she admitted. "I haven't told anyone yet." I considered her request carefully. It was manipulative, using her career as leverage while concealing our separation from her colleagues. But it also presented an opportunity I hadn't anticipated. "Fine," I agreed finally. "One last event. For closure." She looked relieved, even hopeful. "Thank you. It's black tie, next Saturday at the Fairmont." "I remember how it works," I said. We'd attended many such events throughout our marriage. The week before the gala, I finalized certain arrangements and confirmed key details with my attorney. Then I rented a tuxedo and prepared myself mentally for what would be our last public appearance as a couple. On the night of the gala, I arranged for my parents to watch the children and took an Uber to the Fairmont. Elise and I had agreed to meet in the lobby rather than arrive together. She looked stunning in a navy blue gown, her blonde hair swept up elegantly. When she saw me, her face lit up with a smile that momentarily made my heart ache for what we'd lost, or rather, for what I'd thought we had. "You look handsome," she said, straightening my bow tie. "You look beautiful," I replied honestly. "Ready?" She nodded, slipping her hand into the crook of my arm. We entered the ballroom together, immediately surrounded by colleagues congratulating Elise on the successful Barcelona project. I played my part perfectly, the supportive husband, engaging in small talk, laughing at industry jokes I barely understood. Elise stayed close, her hand often finding mine or resting on my arm, creating the picture of marital harmony she wanted her colleagues to see. During dinner, her boss gave a speech praising the Barcelona partnership and Elise's leadership. She received a thunderous round of applause as she was called up to say a few words. "None of this would be possible without the support of my amazing husband, Ian," she said, raising her glass in my direction. "Who held down the fort with our 2 wonderful children while I was away for 6 long weeks." More applause. Smiles. Nods of approval from wives and husbands who'd made similar sacrifices for their partners' careers. After dinner came dancing. Elise led me to the dance floor for a slow song, wrapping her arms around my neck like she used to. "Thank you for doing this," she whispered. "It means everything." "Are you enjoying yourself?" I asked. "More than I have in months," she admitted. "It feels like old times." As the evening progressed, Elise grew more affectionate, more hopeful. I could see it in her eyes. She thought this night was a turning point, a step toward reconciliation. That made what came next all the more devastating. At precisely 10:30 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text. It was the signal I'd been waiting for. "Excuse me," I said to Elise, who was chatting with a group of colleagues. "I need to make a quick call. Be right back." I stepped outside the ballroom and confirmed that everything was ready. Then I returned to find Elise. "Can we talk privately for a moment?" I asked, gesturing toward a quiet corner of the venue. She followed eagerly, probably assuming I wanted an intimate moment. "What is it?" she asked, her eyes bright with anticipation. "I wanted to let you know that I'm leaving now," I said calmly. Her smile faltered. "Already? The night's just getting started. The CEO is expected to make a surprise announcement about promotions soon." "I'm aware. But I have somewhere else to be." She frowned, confused. "What could be more important than this?" "The truth," I replied. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screen, a live stream of our home living room, where a group of people were gathered. Her eyes widened as she recognized her parents, her sister, my brother, and several of our closest friends. "What is this?" she whispered. "I invited everyone who matters in our lives to hear the truth about why our marriage ended. The live stream starts in exactly 3 minutes. I thought you might want to be there in person, but I understand if you'd rather stay here and maintain appearances." The color drained from her face. "You wouldn't." "I would and I am. I've spent months listening to you minimize your betrayal, watching you manipulate our friends and family with vague explanations about growing apart. Tonight, everyone hears what really happened. Please," she begged, gripping my arm. "Not like this. Think about the children. The children are with my parents' neighbor tonight, watching a movie. They won't be anywhere near this conversation. Think about my job, then. If this gets out, you should have thought about that before you brought me here as your prop," I interrupted. "Before you thanked me publicly for holding down the fort while you were screwing Dr. Martin in Barcelona." Tears filled her eyes. "I'll do anything. Please don't do this." I checked my watch. "You have about 2 minutes to get an Uber if you want to be there to defend yourself. Your choice." With that, I walked away, leaving her frozen in the corner. I didn't look back as I exited the ballroom, the hotel, and ultimately, the remains of our marriage. I arrived home just as everyone was settling in, confused but curious about the urgent gathering. I'd told them only that I had an important announcement regarding my marriage to Elise. Elise didn't show up. I hadn't expected her to. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," I began, standing in front of our friends and family. "I know there have been a lot of questions about what's happening between Elise and me." I proceeded to tell them everything: the Barcelona trip, our surprise visit, her confession of multiple affairs. I showed select photos the private investigator had obtained of her with various men over the years, all time-stamped and indisputable. There were gasps, tears, and expressions of shock. Elise's mother covered her face with her hands. Her sister stared in disbelief. "I'm not sharing this to be vindictive," I explained. "I'm sharing it because I'm tired of the lies. I'm tired of carrying this burden alone. And I'm tired of implications that this separation was somehow mutual or that I wasn't committed enough to the marriage." One of Elise's friends stood up. "This is just one side of the story. We should hear Elise's version before judging." "I agree," I replied. "I invited her here tonight. She chose not to come." As if on cue, the front door burst open, and Elise stormed in, still wearing her gala dress, mascara streaked down her face. She'd made it after all. "How dare you?" she screamed, advancing toward me. "How dare you ambush me like this?" Our friends and family sat in stunned silence as she unleashed her fury. She called me manipulative, vindictive, cruel. She accused me of overreacting to a few mistakes. She claimed I was trying to destroy her reputation out of spite. I let her rant until she ran out of steam. Then I calmly asked, "Are you denying the affairs?" She stopped mid-sentence, suddenly aware of her audience. She looked around at the faces watching her, her parents, her sister, friends who'd been in our wedding party. "I made some mistakes," she finally said, her voice quieter. "But Ian is making this seem much worse than it was." "How many affairs were there, Elise?" I asked. "Total. The whole truth." She stared at me with hatred. "You know what? Fine. 4. There were 4. Are you happy now?" The room collectively inhaled. Her mother let out a soft whimper. "No," I said sadly. "I'm not happy. I haven't been happy since I saw you with another man while our daughter was counting down the days until you came home." What followed was 2 hours of painful conversation. Questions from family members. Tearful explanations from Elise that gradually shifted from defensive to remorseful as the reality of the situation sank in. Expressions of support for both of us, despite the circumstances. By the end, everyone was emotionally exhausted. People began to leave in pairs and small groups, offering hugs and whispered words of encouragement. Finally, only Elise and I remained in the living room that had once been the heart of our family home. "Was all this really necessary?" she asked, her voice hoarse from crying. "Yes," I said simply. "It was. Not as revenge, but because secrets fester. Because I refuse to be portrayed as the villain in a story you're rewriting. And because the people who love us deserve the truth." She nodded slowly, the fight gone out of her. "What happens now?" "Now we continue with the divorce, as planned. We co-parent our children as best we can. And we move forward with honesty." "You've destroyed my reputation," she said bitterly. "No, Elise. You did that yourself. I just refuse to help you hide it." It's been 6 months since that night. The divorce was finalized last week. As I expected, the judge awarded me primary physical custody, with Elise having the children every other weekend and 1 evening per week. Elise was passed over for the director promotion, though she kept her job. Some of her colleagues had apparently heard rumors about the real reason for her success with the Barcelona project. Office politics can be as unforgiving as they are hypocritical. As for me, I've settled into a new routine with Emma and Lucas. We have dinner together every night, and I've become adept at French braids and science fair projects. The kids are adjusting well, though they still have questions and moments of sadness. We're all in family therapy, learning to navigate our new normal. Elise and I communicate primarily through a co-parenting app now. Our interactions are civil but distant. She's dating someone new, not Dr. Martine or any of her previous affair partners, as far as I know. I'm not ready to date yet, but someday I might be. Some people have criticized my actions as excessive or vindictive. They say I should have handled the situation privately, that public exposure wasn't necessary. But here's what I know: lies don't disappear when hidden. They grow. They spread. They poison everything around them. By bringing the truth into the light, yes, dramatically and perhaps painfully, I freed not only myself but also Elise from the web of deception she'd created. Whether she recognizes that or not is her journey, not mine. I don't regret my decision. Not when Emma asks me tough questions about trust and honesty, and I can answer her without hypocrisy. Not when Lucas sees that his father stood up for himself with dignity. And not when I look in the mirror each morning, finally seeing a man who refused to be complicit in his own betrayal. That's not revenge. That's reclamation. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thanks for all the supportive comments. To address some common questions. 1. Yes, the divorce settlement was fair financially. I didn't try to take her to the cleaners, because that would ultimately hurt my kids. 2. No, I don't recommend this approach for everyone. Every situation is different. 3. The kids are doing well. They know a simplified, age-appropriate version of why we divorced. 4. For those asking if we're in California because of the no-fault divorce mention, yes, but I won't be more specific than that for privacy reasons. Thanks again for the support during what has been the hardest period of my life.